You know, when you run for president, you have to deal with a lot of controversial issues. One thing, again, that you've been consistent on is you've fought against the Iranian regime for a very long time.
Yes, ma'am, I have.
Looking at where we are now, again, majority Republican House, Republican Senate, what do you think the first thing is that you do under President Santorum?
Governor Haley's right. Those sanctions that were put on Iran, I was the author of those sanctions back in 2004, 5, and 6, and we, thank you. We got a pretty good track record of doing bipartisan things that are conservative. My only failing was I wish we'd have gotten tougher sanctions, but I had to compromise. But it was a good compromise because we did put sanctions in. They weren't as tough as I wanted, but we did put sanctions in. See, that's the difference between a good compromise and a bad compromise. A good compromise is doing less of a good thing. A bad compromise is doing less of a bad thing. We only want to do less of good things, no more less of bad things in Washington, D.C. And so when it comes to Iran, we should not be compromising at all. This is a regime that practices a form of Islam that's called apocalyptic Islam. They are convinced and committed to the belief that the end of the world is coming soon, and they have a role to play in that. They believe that they can hasten the return of their Redeemer, their Savior, in radical Shia Islam. It's new. It's a new version of Islam. It's a twisted version that the Ayatollah Khomeini came up with. And they are committed to bringing about this return of the 12th Imam. Now, many of you have probably never heard this before. That's because your leaders aren't telling you the truth about the nature of the enemy we face. I've been studying and working on the issue of stopping Iran from getting a nuclear weapon for 12 years. The Iranians know who I am, and I know who they are. In 1980, the Soviet Union, and Iran for that matter, knew there was a new sheriff in town, and immediately behavior started to change. Why? Because they knew who Ronald Reagan was, and Ronald Reagan knew who they were. You want to change things in the world community? You elect someone with experience, who has a track record, who has fought, who has, and will say on day one, Iran, you either open up all of these nuclear facilities for inspection by the United States of America and anyone else we choose to inspect, or else, and the else means not just a snapback of sanctions, but I have no doubt they will have violated this agreement. They will be very close to a nuclear weapon. And so what I have said, and I will say it clearly to the Iranians, we will take out these facilities unless you allow us to inspect them and you begin the dismantling of those facilities.
Ladies and gentlemen, help me thank our honorary South Carolinian Senator Rick Santorum.